Welcome back to the shop. Today's video is an unsolicited response to Ben Mall's shop video. Ben had a great video where he went through and detailed all the parts of his shop, which I agreed with everything that he said, or could relate to everything that he said from beginning to end of that video. But this video in particular is a response to his YouTube inspired purchases pile. And my shop is just absolutely littered with things that are YouTube inspired. All sorts of gadgetry, some stuff practical, some stuff just fun. Lots of different things. And in this video I grabbed a handful of things that I purchased that were in response to some YouTube video. I can't always attribute to what video it went to, but I will describe, or I will talk about some of the YouTube channels that I like watching, and the things that I do recollect buying and who inspired me to buy them. The ones that I recall. The rest of them I'll just gloss over and say that they're YouTube inspired. So in no particular order, we'll go through these things. When it comes to YouTube videos, there's nothing more exciting than seeing a great Project Farm video come out. Project Farm, that guy is just great. He does an outstanding job on his videos. He's so thoughtful. He does some higher end stuff that I don't necessarily need, the chainsaws and all the other stuff. But when he gets into the hand tool stuff, I really get interested. And my first inspired was these South Bend pliers, or South Wire pliers. He did these a couple months ago, and these were relatively inexpensive, good quality pliers that he recommended. And I put a lot of stock in his reviews, so thanks for putting that together. He's got a great channel. If you haven't seen it, you must have seen it. But Project Farm is just outstanding. Another big-time YouTuber that I really enjoy watching is Andrew Camarata. Another amazing guy. I'm going to use that word a lot in this video, but he was using this spud wrench, or similar spud wrench, in one of his videos, and it looked handy. And I use it from time to time. I don't do a lot of heavy iron work, but occasionally I need to line something up, and this has been helpful, particularly when I was working on some of the hydraulics on the forklift. So Andrew Camarata is a great channel. My channel, my comments, there's just been any number of great comments as to what kind of brushes to get, what kind of cleaners to get, solvents. I think Scout Crafter turned a lot of us onto the Johnson's Paste Wax, Rusty Gun, I believe it was Rusty Guy, had turned me on to the Neverdell. I think this is my second container of Neverdell. This stuff goes a long way, so it's great. I will probably put in in relation to the Neverdell, I recently completed a project that wasn't quite worth publishing, but I put a clip in of it. It was an old German lamp with the carbide and water, created acetylene, but the outer perimeter ring was cracked and was no longer holding the lens. And I'll put a brief clip of me silver soldering that together. Well, I'm pleasantly surprised. I've got to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to use some Neverdell, but there was a small crack in the bottom, and I got full penetration there. You can see the silver solder came through, and on this side it pulled that solder right into the joint. The silver solder, I believe this may have come from Keith Rucker's Vintage Machinery. That guy's amazing. I don't know how he does all that he does. He has a full-time job with I believe with the university. He's a researcher of some sort, or scientist with the state, something like that. But he does some amazing machinery in his spare time, which is just amazing. I don't watch a lot of it, but I think it's the EEO vlog. The guy reviews multimeters and does high-end electronic stuff. I don't do a lot of electronic things, but this particular meter here has been helpful on a couple different ways. One, not only is it helping measure stuff when I'm doing electrical work, but it also has the thermal probe in it. So when I'm barbecuing, I can just plug it into the thermal setting and turn it on to, right now it's Celsius, and then Fahrenheit, and then I can just measure temperature by holding this little Type K thermal probe down, or thermistor. Great tools, and I think that maybe that could deserve its own channel, is tools that you have that you don't know you have. You know, to know that your multimeter could be a thermometer. I'm sure a lot of you know that, but I didn't know that all the time, so or was scared to mess around with it. And then finally I saw somebody, and now I know I've got a bunch of thermometers laying around. Very handy. Earlier on in the channel, I had done quite a bit of fan work and small electrical motors and whatnot. And the one thing that I always was worried about with pulley sizing and whatnot is amp draw. This tool in particular, this Tech Power, you can only, to read the amps on a motor, you can only reach around one side of the wires going to it. And in order to make that easier, instead of trying to split an extension cord and measure the amps, you can just plug this in one side of the extension cord, this in the other, and I can see how many amps is pulling. I used this during a hurricane for my generator to see how many amps I was pulling. Going back to the project farm, he uses one of these electric meters to measure such things. This has got, I haven't got it out of the box yet, I've had it for quite a while, but I intend on using it at some point. But again, I get inspired to buy things that aren't a real necessity. They're more just fun, trivial things that I'd like to, gather information on. A-Bomb 79. That guy's just a titan in the world of YouTube people. He's his channel just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And 1, 2, 3 blocks. He's always using 1, 2, 3 blocks. I bought a set. I don't use them that often. I used them the other day on my bandsaw repair as a standard, because for what I do, they are parallel and square more so than anything else in my shop. So A-Bomb 79 is a fun channel. It goes without saying, YouTube, Scoutcrafter, any number of things. He just has so many neat episodes. I learned something every single episode. It's just amazing. But when he did the episode on the JIS screwdrivers, the vessel screwdrivers, the Japanese industrial standard, I went out and bought one of these vessel screwdrivers, the ball handle. I really enjoy using this. This is a nice tool. It's fun to use. AVE. AVE, that stands for Arduino versus Evil. Arduinos are really neat tools. If you've never messed around with an Arduino and you've got any sort of, like for small electronics, microelectronics, Arduinos are really neat. I'm not smart enough to know how to use them. But AVE is a great channel. He recommended these fellow screwdrivers. They're German-made, wood handle, full tang, reasonably priced. I think it was $20 for the set. Another channel that I like watching is Watch Wes Work. He works on all sorts of things, from heavy machinery to car repairs. And he's got a good cadence to his videos. He keeps it informative, and there's a very cerebral component to his videos and the way he approaches problems. I enjoy watching it. It's not only relaxing, but it's educational. That goes for quite a few of the channels that I watch. Despite the cerebral aspects, there are some mundane parts of the videos, the tough things that you have to deal with. Pulling a radiator hose off that's been on there for a decade. He turned me onto this radiator removal tool. This has been very handy for me lately. I had a couple radiators go bad. Not something I use all the time, but it's no better feeling than having the right tool for the job. And this is truly the right tool for removing radiator hoses. Similarly, I believe it was Wes that turned me onto the carbide tip scraper. The carbide tip scraper is a favorite tool in the shop. It is impossible for me to articulate how nice it is to scrape something with a carbide tip. It is so much crisper. Does such a nice job of cleaning things off. Putty knives are great, razor blades are great. A carbide scraper is a complete different universe. You won't know what I'm talking about until you buy one, and I would recommend you go buy one. I don't recommend too many things. What did I miss here? Oh, going back to Watch Wes Work, he turned me on to these insulation-free wire crimps. Crimp the wire together. You can see if you made a good connection, and then you slide some heat shrink tubing over the top. They're just great connections. I'm real fond of these. And Geez, what else have we got here? The super glue and baking soda. I can't tell you how many times in the last month I've used the super glue and baking soda. And in particular, I was using it to adhere magnets to pins for my refrigerator. I fixed the dashboard of my truck with it. When you mix super glue with baking soda, it creates a really robust connection to things. So it's a really sturdy connection that I've been happy with. And some occasional other things that I see. You know, I just can't have enough rope and enough twine around the shop. I just like to hang things up. This is some Kevlar rope. I've seen people cut PVC with this, and seems to be any number of applications for the PVC or for the Kevlar cord. I forget who that came from. And some other things that aren't tool related so much, but my garbage cans. The garbage cans, the garbage bags don't stay in them, so I use this surgical tubing to make big elastic bands, big gum bands around the top of the garbage can. And if you've ever worked with bungee cords or surgical tubing, they do not tie, it's difficult to tie knots in those and have them hold reliably. You can super glue these together, however, that's not my favorite connection. I enjoy using the hog ring tool. It's got a series of staples in there, and I use this for wire around my tomato cages and whatnot in the garden. But it's also a remarkable tool for joining together things that don't tie well. So that just made a really nice, secure connection there. And I would do this on a much larger scale for garbage cans. But these kind of tools I probably would have not known existed until it were YouTube. And some things I knew about but forgot about. Simple things like card files and watching Scout Crafters. You know, go out and buy a card file because I got a bunch of files that don't work well because they're crammed full of junk. So that's just a very brief overview of a handful of things when I probably have thousands in the shop, you know, that are inspired by YouTube content creators and by people that watch the channel and take the time to comment and leave constructive criticisms and tips on what they've learned. And I really enjoy learning and watching and contributing to the channel. I know I've been a little bit lax on creating content, but I just want to say that everybody's content is just getting so good these days. It's just amazing with, you know, Wire and 357 and Scout Crafter just day after day creating outstanding content. And I feel wholly inadequate these days. I'm not working on anything fun or anything worth watching. But Ben's video did resonate with me the other day, and I just wanted to cover some of the things that I just have in my shop because of you guys. And I just want to say thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I hope you're having a good night.